Good Friday morning of, again, the 19th week of the year. Today is a very, practically speaking, a controversial, pastorally speaking, a controversial text. It's about divorce. Okay, some Pharisees approached Jesus, testing him, saying, "Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for any cause whatever?" He said in reply, "Have you not read that from the beginning the Creator made them male and female and said, 'For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh.' So they are no longer two but one flesh. Therefore what God has joined together, man must not separate." They said to him, "Then why did Moses command that a man give a woman a bill of divorce and dismiss her?" He said to them, "Because of the hardness of your hearts, Moses allowed you to divorce your wives. But from the beginning, it was not so. I say to you, whoever divorces his wife, unless the marriage is unlawful, and marries another, commits adultery." That's all. Okay? His disciples said, "If that is the case of a man and his wife, it's better not to marry." Oh, these. I guess, I don't know. You see, but that text, unless the marriage is unlawful. We face that with a vengeance today in the church. We have, I would say the thing that I probably did the most in my pastoral life, which was difficult, was I did a lot of annulments. So just recently, a person asked me to help them with their annulment. And that is, I don't know now. Father Hector's our pastor, and I think we've come a long way, and less canonical, less juridical about it. I don't know. I haven't done one in a few years, maybe 7, 8 years. But I can honestly say that this thing was the most difficult. I dreaded the thought when somebody said, "Can you help me get an annulment?" And I remember saying that, "You don't want me to know you like that." Yes, I do. Okay. But then I'm going to ask you questions. Going to have to dig. I'm to dig deep into your psyche. That's the truth. And I can remember sitting there for hours, weekend after week after week. I've never failed. I got them 100%. But I have to, 99. I missed on one, and somebody else got the annulment form. I was missing something. But what you're doing when you're seeking annulment, you're seeking the antecedent conditions to the marriage. You're seeking something in the marriage, prior to the marriage, that indicates an incapacity to engage in a life commitment. There's something wrong from the start. Now, this was the easy one when he says this is unlawful. If it's unlawful, that's usually, God, it's magic to my ears. They got married outside the church, or they got something, some very real, practical, legal reason. And he said, "This is easy, okay? Okay, the marriage never took place." You see? That's a piece of cake. It's when the marriage has taken place in the church, and let's say in the church, and let's say it's lasted for 15 or 10 or 15 years. Those are brutal. And those are the ones I got. There were some, it's easy when a marriage falls apart. I know one marriage fell apart right during the honeymoon. Yeah, those are easy. There's no commitment there. There was either incapacity or an intention not to make the commitment. That's what we had to do, you see. By the way, for the sake of the record, okay, some people are afraid of getting annulments because it makes their children illegitimate. It does not. It does not. Children are legit, as it were, by the legality of the marriage, not the sacrament of the marriage. We're not saying you weren't legally married. We're saying you weren't sacramentally married. There was no sacrament. That's all. And it's because of the absence of the sacrament, the marriage, in the eyes of the church, sacramentally did not occur. Hence, you're free to remarry. You were never married in the first place. Sacramentally. You were married legally, and therefore your children are legal, obviously. Okay? You got to know that. But at the same time, you have to know to get an annulment, at least in the past, was extremely difficult because you had to find antecedent grounds that nullified the marriage, that said it never occurred because you were not capable of entering in a marriage. Well, some of the arguments used to be, well, you got married under stress. What happened? She was pregnant. Okay, under extreme stress. some complete immaturity. How old was she? She was 18 when he got married, and he was 19. Come on, those are beautiful. Give me the dates, and we'll get the annulment. Okay, okay. When somebody says, "Well, I was," hey, let's say I'm speaking for the man, I was 26 years old, and she was 24. Oh, they're mature. You can't use that argument. One of the arguments, some of the things you use sometimes is one or both parties were alcoholic and therefore were incapable of making commitments, or let alone drugs. And if there's a record of arrest for drug abuse, those are easy. Okay, those are wonderfully easy from an annulment point of view. The hardest one is to try to establish they were significantly immature, significantly flawed in their capacity to make a commitment. Significantly, can't everybody's immature to some degree, but significantly, decisively so. That's what we used to do with the annulments, to tell you the truth. I don't know about now. I haven't done one in a long time. But I can remember those magic words when somebody would say to me, "Could you help me? I need to get an annulment." Because I knew it was, often it took months and months and months. And the magic words is, "You sure you want me to know you this well?" Yes, okay. But then you can't tell me what to ask you. I used to sit there and say, "Let me ask you something." I was just fishing. Let me ask you something. Okay? And I used to tell him one other thing. Ugly is beautiful. If you start to look too good, that's bad. The uglier, the better. The uglier, the better. That's the truth. So I'm just giving you something. You probably, there isn't a person watching this doesn't know, have some divorce in their family or friends, etc., and maybe who are Catholics and sought an annulment. This is what's involved. Especially in the past. I understand that the church has simplified it far more, and it's less demanding, more pastoral with regard to annulments. I don't know. It's been a long time. Not a long time, 7, 8 years. I can't remember the time I did the last one, but I did a lot. I used to average one or so a year, more. I bet I did 10 or 15 of them over the years. Grueling, absolutely grueling. For both, for them and for me, because I had to go look for the ugly in life. The uglier, the better. The uglier, the better. I said, whatever you want to do, don't look pretty. I'm going to ask you just how ugly you are. That's exactly what I said. I'm going to look for what is as bad as it gets. That's the only chance we have. And that's the truth. What our Lord says here about unless the marriage is illegal or unlawful, those were a piece of cake. A piece of cake. But on the other hand, the church's requirements for this is also noble. And I'll tell you why. The biggest thing that's in our society today is the fractionization of marriage. We have so many children who are estranged, thrown into estranged environments. The parents are no longer married. Half our marriages fail today. And that means half of our population is affected by it. That is not a good situation at all. Our children are raised in hostile environments, fractioned and untrusting environments. That is not healthy. No wonder the church is so strong in keeping the marriage together. Make it work. Find a way to make it work. Work together. To me, marriage counselors are God's great gift to the church. Marriage counselors. I send them all the time. Try to get help. Don't fraction if you can help it. On the other hand, or sometimes divorce is your best friend. It's because the relationship is abusive, psychologically and physically abusive. You've got to end that. You cannot subject yourself to abuse. So this gets complicated. I'm running out of time now. But I wanted to talk about annulments, but I can talk about the other too. There is also divorce may be what is absolutely required because of an abusive relationship for one's own protection, to save oneself from abuse and perhaps save the children from abuse. That is the truth. And those are grounds for an annulment, believe me.